we will adjust. You gotta be in both screens, Daddy.
People can see me.
Yeah. That's better. How come I look better on my camera? I look all pasty and white on yours.
My phone's old.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
It's live, so you know that it's live, okay?
Are you telling me not to say something bad?
No. Good evening, good evening, good evening. And I know I don't like to wait for people. I like to start. Oh, there it is. That's better. Do you like the way you look?
I can't change it if I wanted to.
So I wanted to have a conversation and give you guys some insight on the other side of what's happening with me and with my family. So I know a lot of you guys have been abreast to the transformation that I've had with God. A lot of you have watched the videos. A lot of you are writing in, asking questions. A lot of you guys are encouraging me, supporting me, telling me how much you're being blessed by what I've been sharing. First, I say all glory to God, because it's not me. It's Him that's working through me. But I wanted to bring this handsome man on here tonight. And I wanted to share my family side of what's happening, because it's a lot. And I was going to come on here and talk to you guys about something else, but as we were having a conversation tonight, Mr. Marion didn't know, but God was talking to me. So so we are going to dig into what we talked about today a little bit more. Sorry, we got to put our phone on Do Not Disturb. So bear with me here, guys, as we put this on Do Not Disturb. Because I'm telling you, as soon as I go live, it never fails. Somebody calls, somebody texts, something comes through. All right, babe. So today we're in the gym.
Yeah.
And a lady I introduced you to today, well, she said hi to you today, went on to tell you that you would be sharing me with her. And I think that I want to talk a little bit about everything that you're experiencing about what's happening with me and with our family, and the impact that it's having on you and our life, and the changes that you're seeing outside of what social media sees or outside of what social media knows. So I kind of wanted to take your perspective so everybody would understand that I come on and I do these videos, but there's something happening in the background too. Like I said today, this lady came up to my husband and was like, look, I hope it's okay with you, but your wife, changed my life and I really need her and all this other stuff. And basically took me for an hour today. And then the other time we were at the mall, you remember when we were at the mall, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to share about it?
I mean, I guess you could tell a backstory as far as this transition happened last year. Some things were changing in the atmosphere and we could all feel it, but it wasn't because variables around us materialistically were changing. It was my wife's energy that was changing. She began to really dive really deep into the Bible, and she really started getting this understanding, and we didn't know where it came from. And me being who I am, I was like, well, let me double check and make sure you're not out here looking crazy. Doing my job, I guess you could say, to make sure that she's not out here sounding silly because I want to protect her. That's my job. But as the year progressed on, we would find ourselves in locations that we had traveled thousands of times over the last 5 years, and 2023 was an absolute showstopper. Every time we went somewhere, somebody would stop to talk to her, and she would tell me before she even talked to people, oh yeah, this, I can see how this is going on with them and this and that, and I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever, okay, sure.
I like what you just said there. The main reason I love what you just said is because I know you guys know Dowden Thomas. Hey Grammy, hey Gandhi, hey guys, thanks for joining. So I know you guys know, if you know the Bible, you've heard about Dowden Thomas. My husband is the biggest skeptic, I think, in the beginning of this, that would challenge me. And really what he didn't understand, what he was doing, was he was preparing me. Thank you so much, babe.
You don't have to yell, they can hear you. They can hear you.
It's an island thing,
They're
sorry.
not deaf. They're not deaf.
Anyways, my husband challenged me in the ways that when questions came up outside from people, I already was groomed with those questions by him. He would literally doubt. Kent yesterday posted about tattoos, and I came home and I talked to my husband about it, and what did you say, babe?
Oh, we're just going to jump from top to top.
No, we're going to get back on it, but what did you say?
I kind of simply agree with him in an essential manner. I mean, in what context he was trying to explain was simply to say that the body is the temple, and you're desecrating the temple that God has given us by tattooing something on our body.
And so right away he was on Kent's side, like, yes, I agree. Hey, Linda. So right away he was like on Kent's side with the scripture. And then when I put it into context for him, he was like, that makes so much sense. So my husband has been the best. He doesn't understand how much God's been using him to prepare me for where I'm at now. But the other side, like I said, and I'll let you continue now, is that they're witnessing and experiencing things too because of what I'm going through. And there are struggles for my family, and there are outside events happening that doesn't make it to social media yet. I think the day will come when we'll maybe get a crew to do some of the outside things that are happening, because the real miracle is happening behind the scenes and you guys aren't getting to see it. The information that I'm sharing with you guys is revelations that are so deep for me, and so I share it with you guys. But there are things happening outside. So go ahead, babe. So 2023, you were like kind of like a skeptic. You were like...
Well, the transition was her starting to kind of drift away from us, essentially. It felt like, anyway. Her attention was more on praying and connecting, and then she would tell me about visions she would have at nighttime and angels at the bed. I'm like, look, listen here, whatever's going on, tell them to stay on your side.
He wanted no part of it,
because I was raised in a Christian home where if you saw those things, it was immediately something you weren't doing correct. You were doing something wrong.
It was demonized.
It was simply demonized. Like you know, that's it for you. It's over. It's done. Said.
You're on your way out.
And I felt like see no evil and kind of thing. Like, well, I'm not going to be a part of it. If I didn't see it, it didn't happen.
So the sense of not acknowledging it meant that it really wasn't happening for you.
Right, and kind of as we progressed, things kind of started getting more and more. She would go into the prayer room and she'd be gone for hours.
Put that into context for some people so they understand how much, like...
So she'd say something along, Brandon, I'm going to go pray about this. Like, I'm really feeling this desire. I need to go and really pray on everything that's going on in my heart or what's on my mind. It could have been about an individual person. It could have been about a situation she was really struggling with. And she's like, oh, I'm going to go pray. I'm like, oh, okay, do you. I'm going to keep, doing whatever I need to do. And it'd be 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and 6:30 come around, I don't smell no dinner. So I'm like, something's going up. So I come out here, and she's not out here. It's dark. The kid's like, Dad, dinner's not done. And I'm like, all right, well, let me go check on her. Let me make sure she's all right. And she'd be in there, and then she'd come out and tell me, I had a vision, or I was displaced. I mean, I was here physically, but my spirit was somewhere else. And she would tell me these visions and things that she saw. But the time lapse was astronomically different than what I was experiencing. I was experiencing hours, and she was experiencing moments.
Yeah, seconds. It felt like I was only gone seconds. And for my family, like he's describing, they're making the biggest sacrifice in this. And we talked about it tonight, because it is what's happening in my life and my family is a huge sacrifice. Don't get me wrong, God's worth every second of it. But the back end, like I said, the behind the scenes that you guys aren't seeing is the sacrifice that my family is making. Because like he said, there are times I'm gone for 3, 4, 5 hours with no contact. And in the moment that I'm in, there is no time. Like when I go into the vision, like there's no time. There's no time that has passed for me. But yet for him, it's been 3 hours. It's been 4 hours. It's been 5 hours. Not counting the fact that we were out at the mall, and we were just out. My daughter wanted to go shopping. We're at the mall, and the angel of the Lord starts talking to me.
Let me tell them.
Yeah, go ahead, baby.
Because I know you've already told them.
I haven't told them this. Well, they don't know any of this.
Anyway, so from my perspective is we're walking around the mall with her friend, my daughter's friend, and my feet are hurting. I'm ready to go. It's been 3 hours, and it just seemed like she was uneasy the entire time. I think we went through Barnes and Nobles, and then once we hit the opening, she kind of changed her whole mannerism, her character, I guess you could say.
And let me say what was happening when I came out of the store. So I get out of the Barnes and Nobles, like he said, and he noticed a shift in me. In that moment, what happens is there's a lot of information being given to me in that moment as people are walking. Like I can start to see who needs healing. I can start to see who's been praying for a breakthrough and hasn't gotten it. I literally can start to see people's lives and hear about their lives. And I'm at that moment overwhelmed. We're just trying to walk. I'm just trying to walk through the mall. And I'm like, okay, I see it. I hear it. But go ahead. So there's this shift that he noticed when we come out of Barnes and Noble. And I just wanted you guys to kind of have perspective on this side of what I was experiencing, what shift I was experiencing that he's talking about.
So I guess the entire year she's kind of been telling me things like, I need to pray for that person. I should be praying for that person. I'm like, yeah, we should be praying for everybody, right? Like we all want everybody to go to the Lord. We want everybody to kind of, go to heaven.
I see my cousins on Instagram. Hey, Rennie. Hey, Darcy. Love you guys. Sorry. Go ahead, baby.
Anyway, so I always kind of I didn't dismiss it, but as much as I was saying, yeah, well, of course, we need to pray for everybody. Well, we were walking through the mall, and me and her have been walking through the mall for about maybe 45 minutes, and we walked by this gentleman, and she saw him, and she stopped, and she said, something's going on with this gentleman, with his body, his heart, whatever it was. There was something going on with this gentleman that she felt the need to go pray for him. And she talked herself out of it, and we just kept walking. I said, all right, well, listen, we swing around here again, and he's here, you got to do what you got to do. That's kind of like...
a sign. He said it would be a sign that that's really what you need to do.
So anyway, we come back around about another 15, 20 minutes or so. Gentleman's not there. So I was like, all right, cool. I don't have to feel embarrassed, I'm standing here crazy. So I say, hey, let's just go get some food. Let's go sit down in the court. Let's get some mango. Let's get something, just kind of hang out a little bit. So we're sitting there, and I said, hey, I'm going to use the restroom real fast. I'll be back. Well, I go into the restroom. There's a gentleman in there, elderly gentleman, probably about 70 or so. Looks very sad. I've been around a lot of people in my life. You can kind of figure out who's going through it.
You can kind of sense it.
For real, yeah. So I noticed him, and I just he was having a hard time with the faucet. I said, why don't you just use mine? It was one of those little stupid motion sensor ones that there is no need for. But anyway.
Hi, Nikki.
We do that, And he comes over and uses mine. He's like, oh, thank you so much. And I could tell he was from a foreign country. And not to make it like a derogatory, I just understood he was not American because he had an accent of some kind. And I told him, I said, you have a great day. And he smiled and he said, thank you so much. And I walked out. Well, as I'm walking out, I sit down and she's telling me that I walked out, the gentleman hadn't come out yet.
Yeah, let me pause you there. Let me tell you what was happening where I was. So I'm sitting down. He went and bought me the mango before he goes to the bathroom. He brings the mango. I'm sitting down, and right next to me, these two teenage kids come and sit down next to me. And when the little girl sat down, she was brought to my attention, but it wasn't her. I could feel it wasn't her that needed me. I couldn't understand it. And then the young man sat down, the teenage boy sat down, which I assume was her brother. These two kids sit down. And I'm literally sensing that there's something going on with the table, but the person that I'm sensing it for hadn't arrived yet. So Brandon's in the bathroom with the gentleman. He comes out, and go ahead, sorry.
So anyway, I come out, the gentleman's still in there, and I make my way back to the table, and he's probably about 40 or 50 feet behind me, because I sit down and I realize, all right, that's the gentleman that was just in the bathroom, and he didn't say nothing to me. He just came and sat down.
Sat at the table with the two young kids.
To the right-hand side of us, and he had a wedding ring on, and I noticed that because...
Hey, Stu, miss you too.
Hey, man. But I realized that he was, he was married of some kind or whatever, and so he sits down, and as soon as he sits down, Sarani says, I got this feeling I need to pray for this man. And I'm like, oh Lord, here we go.
Now, so I want you guys to understand the scope of what's happening, okay? I've never prayed for somebody. I've never talked with somebody. I've never been that person ever. So imagine you're in the mall and there's an angel talking to you. Like I'm hearing him, like you're hearing me, okay? I can hear an actual voice telling me that this man needs to be prayed for right now. The part that I'm not telling Brandon because it's freaking me out, I'm freaked out, I'm uncomfortable, is that first I got to go talk to this perfect stranger in the middle of a food court at the mall who doesn't know me. I don't know them. They're going to think I'm a crazy person. So while the angels tell me to go pray, I'm like arguing. I'm like, I'm not going to go pray for him. How do I know he's a Christian? He might be Hindu. He might be Buddhist. He going to look at me like I'm crazy. What if he tells me to go pound sand? And so I'm like battling inside, but I'm getting to the point where I'm getting worked up, and I'm telling him now, like, I know I need to go pray for him, and I'm trying to reason now, like, I'm trying to get him, because he's the doubter, I'm trying to get him to tell me, don't worry about it. Like, that's weird. Don't be that person. You know what I mean? So I was like trying to talk myself out of it.
Yeah.
But then the angel of the Lord started to give me details about this man's life. He had just lost his wife. He's like, they just lost a wife. The kids just traveled from the islands. And I'm not saying any of this yet. None of it I've mentioned to Brandon yet. I'm just telling him I need to go pray for this man. But go ahead, baby.
Yeah, she went about a couple of minutes, I suppose, back and forth with herself, and she looked at me and she was like, I said, listen, just worst he can tell you is no, go away. And at that point, you did what you were supposed to do. He didn't accept it, you move on. And I'm kind of like that in that way, like, so be it. It is what it is. Well, so she gets up, she does it, and she says, I've never done this before. I'm so sorry. Can I pray for you? And the man immediately accepted. Yeah, of course. Please. And you could just tell, like, he was waiting for anybody to say something.
You could sense the desperation. I could literally, when I touched him, I could feel the ache in his heart. Like, I could feel it. I could feel the desperation. And so I start to pray, and the words that are coming out my mouth, I don't even know how I know this stuff. I don't know how I'm telling him. And the teenage boy is like, the whole time, just like, in disbelief that I'm saying all of this, in disbelief that I'm even talking about to his grandfather. And then they get up to go leave, and I finish praying and I walk away, and I'm awkward, I'm uncomfortable. I'm like, what do I do now? Do I just sit here? Like, what do I do? And they're literally next to me, and I'm like, I felt so uncomfortable. And they get up to leave, and the grandfather said, these are my grandkids. They just came up from Bermuda. Yeah. So the island thing was on point. And then I was like, okay, so when I get done praying, it doesn't end there.
No. So anyway, he says goodbye. He kind of does his thing and he moves on. Well, there's this elderly Latina lady just cleaning up, and she said, this lady's not been here long. I've got this vision, her sitting at this table and looking at her bills and shaking her head because now she's got to go work to pay these bills and doesn't know how to do it. And I said, oh, Lord, here we go. I was like, this is going to be like this all day. Like, I'd much rather just be at home, kicking it, doing nothing. So I said, listen, I'm going to get up and go on about my way. You do what you got to do. Go ahead and do you. So she gets up, and she went to go say something to her. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you
chickened out.
You hesitate. Yeah, you hesitated.
Chickened out. I ran. I literally ran. Because the angel of the Lord was like, so I want you guys to understand, too, that this is all new to us. Like, what's happening is new to me. Like, I've never had God talk to me this way. I've never had this literally, like, life real experience. We've never had this. So this is new to us. And so the angel is telling me this, and he's telling me, I'm telling you this woman's life for confirmation. So you need to go over to her so you can have the settlement you need in your chest that what I'm telling to you and who you're talking to is actually an angel of the Lord. Because I doubted too. I was in disbelief. I was like, I'm just imagining this. I'm just thinking up this stuff. And so the whole time I'm telling myself that, I chopped up the old man to a coincidence, and I'm telling him this. I'm like, it was just a coincidence that I knew that. It was just this, and I'm chopping it up to all these things. And so as I'm saying this to myself, the angel of the Lord is literally contradicting me. Like, no, I'm actually here. Like, I'm really talking to you. Like, this isn't your imagination. And then he told me, he was like, this woman has been working here, less than a year. It was a year that he kept saying, less than a year. And he said, and then I got a vision. I saw her at the table. She had just retired, and she was at her counter crying because the bills that were coming through were too much for her to cover. She didn't have the money, and she had to go get this job at the mall as a janitor. And so she was broken by that. She worked her whole life to go to retirement to not have enough money in the end. And so the angel of the Lord was like, you need to go confirm what I'm saying to you, because it was for me. It was for us to know that what was happening was really neat, like really happening. It wasn't in my mind. So at first I ran. I went to approach her, and then I was like, nah, I'm good. This is insane. This is crazy. And I go like to Brandon. I was like, wait up, babe. Don't leave me. And he was like...
I think until you turn around and go do it.
He was like, stop playing. Like, if God talking to you, girl, I ain't trying to get smite. I don't want to get hit by no lightning.
Yeah, that's, so anyway, she goes back and does it. Comes out, long story short, all the information she had a vision with was validated. She told me before she talked to the woman, and then she spoke to the woman, and the woman confirmed, essentially, like, I've only been here a year.
I just hit my year mark. She said, I just hit it.
So that was that. And then we're walking, and I look at her, I'm like, all right, listen, enough for today, yeah? I was like,
I can control it.
Yeah, I'm like, you're showing off. Let's go ahead and be done with that. So once that was happening, we walked around for a minute, and she, kind of discussed in disbelief, like, how she knew these things, and she was just really overwhelmed with emotion, like just trying to figure it all out. And I get it, right? Like, things come to you and you just like don't understand, and then all of a sudden you say things like, well, it's whatever. I'm not even really gonna dig into it. Well,
and that would be nice if I could do that.
Right.
If I could just ignore it and be like, all right, I'm just gonna go about my day, and I'm not gonna pay any mind to this. I'm not gonna pay any attention to it. I'm just gonna go about my day. But there's like this, like a gnat at a barbecue, this voice that keeps going like, no, I need you to do this. I need you to do it. You need to be obedient. I need you to be obedient. And so he's like I said, this is our mall walk. You know what I mean? And it was supposed to be just like this cute date between him and I. And it didn't end up like that. Hey, Alana. And it didn't end up like that. Hey, Jeanette.
Oh, you're going to say hi.
Hey, Brent.
You're going to say hi to Mom Linda.
Hey, Linda. But it didn't end up that way. So it ends up with me having this angel talking to me the whole way through that I need to pray for these people, and I've never prayed for somebody outside of my house before.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're walking and I'm battling. I'm literally like, enough. Like, I'm overwhelmed at this point. Yeah. And the angel's like telling me to calm down, like, you're equipped for this. You've been prepared for this. You got this. And just kind of encouraging me. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't get, let them all go do whatever they need to do. And, you know, just being like a Jonah, basically. And the man that's supposed to be helping me say no and helping me be like, you're right, babe. You've had enough. He was the opposite. He was like, no, babe, you need to do what God's telling you. But anyway, so we keep going through the mall. We're walking.
Yeah, so we get through the mall. I think we're kind of like at the end of our day, essentially. Our daughter said, hey, you know, 5, whatever time it was. And I said, all right, Shirani. I said, they ain't up here yet. Like, don't make me go get these children. So anyway, I say that enough, but we sit down. I said, I'm going to sit down. My feet hurting. We're going to sit down. So I sit down, and she's like, Brandon. And I'm like, man, she's like, I got to pray for this dude. Like, I see tubes coming out this dude, or something was going on with this man. Like, she just felt like this was different than it was when we were walking and she saw the guy in the mall. She felt like she had to pray for it. It's just...
Well, that guy was the one with the white. So the guy that...
Let me...
Ahead, sorry.
It's not even important.
Okay.
Anyway, so we sit down, and she says that there was a gentleman to the right of me. When I sat down, my daughter was there with me. When I sat down, she came up on the escalator, and she came up to us. And I said, all right, let's go. She even validated there was nobody sitting to the right of me. There was...
This was after, though. Okay. So we call our daughter, and we're like, come on, it's time to go. We need to go. He's at this point overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. We're ready to go. We're just ready to go. So we sit down in front of Barnes & Noble, because you guys know in the mall they have these like L-shaped chairs, and there's people. This one was more like a U. There was a chair here, and a chair here. And there's a gentleman sitting in front of us, and there's a gentleman literally right to the right of Brandon, sitting next to him. And we sat down, and as soon as I sat down, the angel started to talk to me about the man to the right of Brandon. And I felt like I had this sense like I got hit in my head. Like there was something going on with my brain, and I could feel that part of my brain had been taken. And I could actually feel that. And I actually am sitting there, I'm getting a headache, and I'm being told you need to pray for him. He's having issues with his head. And he's sick. He was sick in his blood too.
Now mind, she's telling me all this.
I'm telling him all of this, and he's thinking I'm talking about the guy across from us.
Nonetheless, it's hard to comprehend. Nonetheless, somebody tells you, oh, this is how. I'm like, hold on. First off, this ain't Ghost Whisperers. One, I don't know where you getting all this information from. But please tell them to stop, because you know I'm getting like. So anyway, she's telling me all this stuff that occurs. My daughter comes up. She says, "All right, Dad, let's go."
Yes. So the kids come back.
Yeah.
And I go and I said, I'm gonna go pray for him. And Brandon was like, I'm whispering to Brandon. I was like, I'm gonna pray for him. I said, you guys go ahead. I'm gonna sit right here, and then I'll go over there and talk. I was trying to build the courage to go to pray for the man.
Mm-hmm.
And so Brandon was like, all right, fine. We'll see you. We'll meet you in the car.
Yeah.
So again, I chicken out. And as soon as I see them hit that Barnes & Noble door, I was like, never mind. And I start chasing. I was like, wait up. But they're not hearing me. And I'm calling him, and he's not stopping. And I turn around. Something say turn around. I turn around, and the man was leaving. And right when he get up to go leave, I heard the angel said, do not miss this opportunity. And I was like, dang. And so I turn my behind back around, and I go pray for the gentleman. And I'm at this point, he's through JCPenney's door halfway through, and I'm calling for him. I'm saying, sir. He's not turning around. He's not answering me. And there are women that are standing in the beginning of the entrance of JCPenney that's kind of looking at me weird, like, who is this girl calling? And they don't say nothing. I didn't pay any attention to them, because I know I'm trying to get this man's attention. So finally we get to this part of the store that nobody's at. It's way in the back of JCPenney, almost by the exit, and nobody's there. And I noticed that he had on a leather jacket, but the back of the jacket, had been stitched, like parts of it was missing and somebody had stitched it. And so I was like, oh, he must be like a poor guy or something like that. So I instantly thought that's what came to mind. But I run up to him and he turns around and he hears me and he says, yes. And I said, this is going to sound crazy. I said, I never do this. I don't even know how to approach this conversation. I said, but can I pray for you for healing? And he smiled and he said, I really need prayer. You have no idea how much I need prayer right now. And then I told him, I said, I kind of have a clue. And he smiled. And he had a really thick accent. Maybe he sounded like he was Greek. I couldn't understand his full language. But I started to tell him what I saw. And he was like, yes, everything you are saying is exactly what's going on. Yes. So I pray for the man. When I get done praying for him, he said, where's your church at? And I said, oh, well, I don't have a physical location that we go to in Florida anymore. I have one in California, and I just kind of watch online. And he said, no, that's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you where your church is. And I said, oh, well, we honor the Sabbath, and I follow Christ, and I follow God, and that's who I'm following right now. God's ministering to me, and that's where I'm at. And then I told him, I said, every Sabbath we sit down as a family and we have church at home. So we're having church there. And he said it again to me. He said, okay, but where is your church at? What is your church called? And I was like, I didn't understand it at first, like at all. I didn't catch the clue. I was just like, my church? I ain't got a church, homie. I don't have a homebody right now. Like, calm down. But anyways, after that, he smiled. Because I think he understood that it finally registered in my mind what he was asking me. And then I was like, okay. And I leave, I go, and they're waiting for me outside of the Barnes and Noble, and I run to them and I get in, I'm like all freaking out, because like I said, this is only my second time, the old man before, and now this guy. And I tell them everything, and I'm like, oh my God, like everything I told him, he said it was true, like it was crazy. And then I said to them, I said, it was the man. Brendan was like, which guy did you pray for? Like, that doesn't sound like the guy that I saw. And I was like, what do you mean?
Oh, she said, the dude with the leather jacket. And I said, Sharon, there was nobody there with a leather jacket on. Like, I don't know how many people know me on here, but I like to watch. I'm a people watcher, right? I watch everybody around me. It's almost like I'm nosy, right? I don't care, but I'm nosy, so I see those details, like when my surrounding is absolutely who's there, what are they wearing, what's their demeanor.
There's a Marine in you.
All that stuff. So when I sat down, there was nobody to the right of me, but there was somebody in front of me, and I knew that for sure because as I was about to sit down, there was a gentleman who already left. So they had left.
Yeah, but he was on the other side of the couch, so it wasn't the guy next to you.
You gonna let me?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, there was nobody to the right of me at all. There wasn't. So to say this.
Our daughters confirmed what he said.
I thought for sure she was absolutely crazy. I said, Shrine, there's nobody there. I said, do we need to take you to the doctor? And she was like, stop joking. I was like, I'm serious. Like, you seeing things that aren't there. Like, are you okay? And she said, I'm telling you. And she said, look in the back rear view. He's coming out of JCPenney. All of us, to include my daughter's friend, look and go, nobody's there. So then we all just kind of got quiet in the car.
Yeah, they did. Now imagine me going chasing this guy to pray for him, which now I know it was an angel, right? And it was to test my obedience, right? Because again, to get to where I need to be able to do all these things. But imagine my surprise. I really started to panic. I really started to freak out. Because I was like, oh my God. And what was amazing, and it's coming to me right now, is right now I'm being told, why I told you needed the confirmation with the woman first, so you would know it wasn't in your mind.
Yeah, maybe.
So that's why I needed that confirmation before that moment. Because I did feel crazy. I saw a whole person that nobody else was seeing or even experiencing. And I was like, what do you mean he wasn't there?
Yeah. And a lot of times I kind of realize as my journey is progressing, this year has shown me a lot. God's going to put you in some real tough spots. It's not to make you feel any type of way. It's literally to provide growth. He wants you to be uncomfortable. When Jesus told them cats to just drop everything they had and come follow him, it wasn't because he wanted them to be comfortable. It was because there was a lesson and growth in that. And I think God will always try to do that for us, is to see us grow, because we have things we need to be doing in the kingdom of God. And I believe, like, we all get caught up in this, what color is Jesus and all this, and what did he do? Listen, it don't matter what color he was. If we just listen and follow what he is saying, all that will come to you, right? We have these debates about this all the time, and I watch my wife go through this process, and not once did God or the angel of the Lord say, hey, by the way, Jesus is Arabic, or Jesus is this. None of that came to mind. It was, this person needs you. This person needs you to pray for them right now. This person needs you to speak to them. This young lady at the gym, I don't even know if she talked about it, but this young lady at the gym dropped down on the ground in front of everybody and was crying. You know what that is as a human being? To be broken in front of a stranger, because the very words that came out of somebody's mouth was the absolute truth. And she didn't know her from Adam.
No.
She's never spoke to this woman ever. And I've seen it, because I'm like, man, this is all BS. And then when you physically see it, and then you have to process it, that makes you do one of two things. Either get far away from it because you don't understand it.
You're scared of it.
Or get close to God and go read, because you want to go, okay, she can do that. She's touching lives. We all want to bring, people to the Lord. That's the intention of essentially being here. Like, either you got it or you don't got it. And when I watch her do her process and the time she dedicates this last year and fall over into 2024, I have seen the sacrifices she has made. Our lives are absolutely uncomfortable. We are doing the absolute most for our family, but in every turn, it's like,
it's never ending.
I think it's like when you roll with your plan.
I said that today.
Did you?
That's funny you say that. I said, God gave me today, it says, if your plan is working out for you.
That means God's ain't.
Yeah. How do you know that?
Well, because it's common sense. Because if you're doing it your way, that means you're leading deception and lies and the way
you're being ministered to and don't even know it.
You want to be in control, and I think a lot of times we forget that we're not in control. Nothing about what we do if we're serving God, right? If we're servants of God and we're doing what we're supposed to do, it becomes real hard to do for you.
What you're saying is a really great point. The understanding is, Jesus said, if you believe that I am the way, the truth, and the light, pick up your cross and follow me. If you guys have ever watched the movie Passion of the Christ and you see Jesus carrying his cross, it was a struggle. They actually threw Simon in there, not Simon Peter, but Simon in there to help Jesus carry his cross. Because there is a sacrifice that's a daily thing in walking with Christ. And you get past, so the initial, things that bogs us down is sin. Our sin trips us up. But when you get over that and the Holy Spirit comes and literally fills you up with a fire, which is like the Holy Ghost fire. I actually, in those moments, feel like I'm on fire inside. And you get filled with that. Your sin is understood. You understand that it's on the cross. Your Aunt Diana's on.
Oh. Hey, Aunt Diana.
You understand that your sins are on the cross. And so now that becomes literally minute. Because now you're into the deeper stuff with God. Jesus said we have to be witnesses to the world that he exists. And I say this all the time in my videos. What does it mean to be a witness?
To be present?
To have experience, to have tangible evidence that what you're saying is actually true.
Yeah.
To have the knowing where you shift from, okay, where you shift from where Thomas was, and that I believe that Jesus is real. I believe, but until I put my finger in his wound, then I'm not going to truly know that he's resurrected. But when Thomas was able to touch Jesus' wound, he knew now that Jesus was real. You understand? So you shift from this understanding of believing to really knowing the facts.
And I don't disagree, but I also will speak to the people more like me out there, right? Because this is hard.
It is.
I cannot explain. I've done some hard things in my life. I've fought battles. I've been to combat. I've done one of the hardest trainings on the planet. But I guess surrender yourself and not live in the flesh is probably the hardest thing that I have to do, because it's not a monthly thing. It's not a right here, right now thing. It is a every second of the day thing.
Right.
You know, and I know we all struggle with that stuff. And Sharani, God bless her, because I don't know how she does it. I don't know how she takes the flesh and puts it aside so easily, because I have been trained in this world that we live in, that society has told us that this stuff is important. So for me to break 39 years of habitual giving into the flesh is not just something that can happen overnight. And I think a lot of us who are following Christ, you know, are struggling with that. I think we go like, well,
a disconnect from the material world.
It's hard, and just like, you know, Sharani told me, you got to show yourself grace.
Yeah.
If you don't show yourself grace during this process, you will never finish it. You'll never continue in it, I guess I should say.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm at, where I'm not perfect by no means. I am not perfect. I make mistakes every day, but I don't stay down there. If I fall down, I get back up. What Rose saying? Alana said, I know how that is like. I had to talk to someone asking them to surrender their life to God, in which they refused, and a week later they died. Oof.
That's wild.
And that's the perspective that I have, girl. That's the perspective that keeps me with this understanding with the material world. This is literally fleeing. The flesh is passing away. The Bible describe it like the mist or the dew off the earth. It literally passes so quickly. But we tend to think we have all this time. I remember I was talking to my grandfather, and he told me something. I was 16 years old, and my grandpa told me, I said, man, it seems like life is going so slow for me. And he said, honey, enjoy it while you can, because you will blink and you will be old and you will be like, how did I get here? Mm-hmm. And I'm not kidding you. He was not lying to me then, but that stuck with me. So my entire life from the age of 16, I try to really enjoy every year of it, because he unlocked something in me with this understanding that life is fleeing from us. It's literally running from us. And so now my grandpa, my grandma, my grandparents are in their 80s, 70 years old. How did they get there? I don't know.
They still look good, though.
They're still, they're really 21. But I don't understand it. Like, my brain is like, how did we get here so fast?
And it's wild, because I've always believed, like, why do I do these things that I don't want to do? And I know a lot of you can relate. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're just like, this dude's crazy. I don't care.
I feel like that. I feel like people look at me like she's nuts.
Right. But again, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because I realize something. The flesh will always want what the flesh wants, because there is an end to your flesh. They know that there is an end cap to this game. They know that they will die and they will return back to the earth. Mm-hmm. This is the hardest thing for us to live through, because we are part of the flesh at the moment, right? Until we separate from the body, we are part of the flesh. So the flesh will fight tooth and nail
to celebrate,
to do whatever it wants to do. YOLO. Because exactly. If you know you only had 24 hours to live, and you talk to some of these people who don't believe, I'm only in my 70s, Linda. I know. I told her, don't listen to her.
I said 70. And you're really in your 20s.
If you go find a non-believer or someone who is someone who's not super in depth in God, and you tell them if you had 24 hours, what would you do? I would say 80% of them would say something along the lines of, I would travel, I would do this, I would do that, I would do this. Because that's the flesh. The flesh wants to experience all the worldly things before it goes. Right? But what I started to understand was this is temporary. And my sister Amy, who passed away, said it the most. This is just a shell. This is just a shell of who I truly am. And I really held on to that because you as a person are not your flesh. You are your spirit. You are
the soul.
You're
the spirit.
Yeah. So again, the flesh will always try to fight you, especially when you're trying to obey God.
And I think that is so deep. That is so deep. Hey, Melissa. Okay, people living it can relate.
It says only people.
Only people living can relate. We are a peculiar people. The veil has not yet been lifted for them. Amen. Listen, there's two ends to this, right? You see millionaires. You see people who win the lottery get to literally do everything you could think about in the flesh that you can imagine. Now they have all the money in the world and they end up killing themselves. They end up going back broke because you get to this point where you understand that there's no money that you can get. There's no experience that you could get that if you don't have God living in you, that will make you feel fulfilled. You will get to that point where you get everything you can have in life and get to this point where you realize that even with it all, there is still something missing. Even with everything you have, I still don't feel fulfilled. Some people I've talked to say, man, I was working so hard to achieve this, and I got there and it didn't feel that great. It was like, oh, that's nice. And then they move on trying to chase the next thing. And so you could always live that way because I think the point that he just made is so amazing because he's absolutely right.
Right. And Miss Melissa said that, we are a soul with a body. I agree with you. I appreciate you.
Not a body with a soul.
Yeah, I appreciate that because that's absolutely
we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. I've heard that in a song. I've heard that everywhere. And that is the facts. Right? And we're supposed to have this experience with God going with us, walking with us, going through it with us so that we can have the understanding. We're supposed to be building things and learning things here that we will not get to learn and experience over there. If you read the Bible, it says that the angels came to inquire to prophets. They came to inquire on human beings what God had revealed to them. There was one angel that woke up a prophet that my son was sharing. He woke him up out of his dream and said, what did you dream? What did you see? And the prophet goes on to tell him what he had seen in the dream. Because angels don't get this opportunity that we do. We get an opportunity here to have an experience with God that we will not get on the other side. So it's like when you get through this, you don't get a redo. You get to the other side and what you've accomplished is what it is. And I think that sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm not here yet. I'm not there yet. It's not a race. It's literally 1 second at a time. Trust me. When I tell you when God gets a hold of you and the Holy Spirit gets a hold of you, it feels like you are propelled 1,000 miles a minute. Like he was saying about the lady that was at the gym. I spent like 2 hours yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, the day before.
The day before that, yeah.
I was sitting in the sauna and it was packed. The sauna was packed. And all of a sudden I go in, I'm listening to my stuff. I got my headphones on. I'm zoned in. I'm just so happy to be relaxed because I'm going 24/7. Like I'm being told something, I'm being revealed something. There's a video I got to do. There's a message I need to share and I'm going all the time. And so when I sat in a sauna the day before, I was so relieved to be just settled. I was also happy that the sauna was full because then typically it's so crowded in there that I won't really have to focus on no one person. You know what I mean? I could just sit there and be still. That's not how it worked out. I know God has a sense of humor. So I'm sitting in the sauna and it was like somebody took my eyes over, and all of a sudden it was like a movie playing, and it was me in this movie. I was in my room getting dressed for the gym that day, that same day. And as I got out of bed, my entire bones, my bones were hurting, my bones were aching so bad, and I started to cry. And then I sit on the bed, and I go to put my shoes on, and I can't, because my hip hurt. The minute I sat down, it felt like my hip was broken. So I get up and I go out into the living room area, or this area where there's a chair, and I sit on the chair because it's closer to the ground, and I really muster the courage to get my shoes on. When I put my shoes on, the pain in my feet was excruciating. It felt like my bones had been broken. And I'm sitting on this couch, bawling my eyes out, and I'm calling out to God. I'm like, God, why? Please answer me. Please help me. I keep going to these doctors, they're not giving me answer, and I'm just crying. I'm literally sobbing. And then I come out of the vision, and I'm like, why? That's not me. I don't hurt. My bones are fine. Why are you showing me this? And as soon as I said that, the angel said, the lady to the left of you. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this in here. I literally said that. I was like, ain't happening. And when I hear God's voice speaking, it's final. And so the angel, I can always negotiate with. I can always have a conversation with the angels. But when God comes in and says, you're doing this, it is final. So I hear God come in and says, yes, you are. And I was like, let me start taking off my headphones. I'm taking off my headphones. And as I'm taking off my headphones, everybody start leaving the sauna but two people. The lady sitting to my left and this young lady to my right. So I put my headphones down and I literally look at the lady and I said, I'm so sorry. This is going to sound crazy. But I have to pray for you for healing. And when I tell you she busted out crying, I mean like snot coming out of her nose, couldn't catch her breath. And I was like, so I just want to tell you that I know what's going on. I saw you today getting dressed and you were in so much pain. Your whole body is hurting. Your bones hurt. Your feet feel like they're broken. It's hard for you to walk. I said, and you keep going to the doctor and they keep telling you maybe it's your thyroids, but it's not your thyroids. You just feel like crap all over. And she was like, oh my God, yes. And she's literally crying. And the young lady to my right, she perks up and she comes over and she's like, you know when you've seen something on TV or you've heard about it, but you get to experience it? That's how she was acting. She was like all in the conversation. And so then I told her some other stuff, and I'm not going to share because it's kind of personal. And then other people started coming into the gym, into the sauna, and I told her, I said, for, privacy reason, I'm going to step out and I'll pray for you outside. I said, you finish in here, like get yourself, because she's bawling. She's like, I can't believe this is happening. And she was like, oh no, I'm not waiting for this. I'm coming. She literally jumps up and she's like chasing me. She gets out of the sauna and I don't know what happened, but she literally drops to the ground and she is just crying and crying and crying and crying. And I start praying with her. And the words, again, 90% of the times when I start praying, I have no idea what I'm saying. It's the Holy Spirit that's literally giving me the words in that moment to say. So I'm praying for her, and some of the words that came out that was strange was like, I break the spirit of witchcraft that's on your life. When I said witchcraft, she was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And so I finished praying, we get done, and she grabs me and she was like, 2 weeks ago, my friend called me and told me that my ex put a hex on me and that there's witchcraft on my life. So for the fact that you just came and prayed and break the witchcraft that's in my life is just crazy. And she's literally bawling and crying, and it was just this crazy experience. And I saw her yesterday and she kind of just like avoided me, which I know why. She was processing. I was processing. This is awkward. We had never met before. And today she came up to me and she went out to Brandon and told Brandon what happened and was like, look, I'm going to just be upfront with you. Like, I know God sent your wife to me to help me. She also told me that, she had been asking God to send her a sign now because she was thinking about ending things. And if she didn't get a sign, that's the route she was going. So because she's in so much pain. And I saw her today and her body was not hurting her anymore. She was like, she looked bright. She looked so different. But she told Brandon today, like, your wife and me, and I sat with her today for an hour. And this is what we're talking about too. And like I said, part of the reason we're coming behind the scene is for you guys to understand there's things happening, not just what you see on Facebook or on Instagram or on TikTok. There's a lot happening behind the scene that 24/7 is really feeling like 22,400 hours in a day. Like I feel like that, you know, because I go to train, I go to work out, and God's like, you need to do this now. Who cares that you have to work out? Who cares that you got to go do this or you got to go do that? Who cares that, you know, your husband said, you said you're going to have lunch with your husband. It's now. I need you to do this. And when you understand the gravity of the situation, you kind of puts things in perspective. My lunch date with my husband can wait because this woman needed me. She was praying. She'd been praying for years for a sign. She'd been praying for answers, you know, and witchcraft, and I told her this because she couldn't understand how she's gone so long with this on her. The way witchcraft works is it's, you know, it's a one-time thing and then it's good forever until you break it. So you could have been hexed 10 years ago and it's still working. That's how, you know, the dark magic works. And I was like, so she had been suffering for a long time, and I didn't tell her, but I in the prayer, God kept showing me that salvation was here. And then I told her too she would have a dream that night. God told me she would have a dream, and that's what she came to tell me today. Yeah. And the things that I had revealed to her in the dream, and I told her, I said it's going to be a little scary because I kept getting that it's going to be a warning for her, so she would really know what's going on in her life and why she is where she is. And so she was so excited to come tell me that everything I said was true, and to tell Brandon and to do a testimony with him, really, that what I did and what I said was actually accurate. But that took an hour today, and the day before yesterday, that was 2 hours. 2 hours of my time sitting with somebody. So, and this isn't just, like I said, it's not just this one moment. You know, anywhere we go, I try to literally leave and come back home. And there's a big change coming in our lives soon. We haven't told anybody yet, and we're going to make that announcement later on. But this is a lot. Like,
it is, and I'll be honest. You know, again, I'm still working on Brandon, and I'm still trying to do what God has asked me to do. But I'll tell you, I'm a selfish person when it comes to my wife. Right? She's my spouse, and if you tell me you're gonna have a lunch date, and then 3 hours go by and then you tell me what happened, all right, cool. I didn't care about this lady in no way, shape, or form. One, I didn't know her, and two, ain't nobody tell her to go out here and get herself mixed up in all that nonsense. And I say that not in a derogatory manner. I just say that like you knew better. That young lady knew she was in a situation she shouldn't have been in, and now you taking my wife from me because you can't get your stuff together. And I've realized that that's not the truth, because, you know, you're right, Miss Melissa, the urgency is now. And as hard as it is to have to set myself aside, I think the biggest thing is that I have to show more grace and be more understanding toward all of this. And I'm battling because I'm a selfish person, you know, by nature. And so that's something God's working on with me. But
yeah, and I think it's important that you guys come in. I just love when you guys support us. Like, it really means a lot. And that's the other part of this message tonight, is that you know, my husband, my kids, they need the support. They need all of that love too, because it is a huge sacrifice. And I don't want to say sacrifice like God's yoke is heavy. It's not. His burden is light. But the flesh and the things of the flesh and the things that is demanding in this realm that we live in right now is a lot to have to deal with. If it was just me by myself and I wasn't married with kids, then it would be easy. I could go do whatever I want 24/7 and have no consequences. But when God calls me to minister to somebody for 2 hours, that's 2 hours. I got to go get my kids. I still got things to take care of at the house. Still got other responsibilities. And now I'm taking 2 hours out of my day. You know what I mean? Now I get where he's coming from, and I understand that, because that is a lot to have to deal with. But for me, I don't see it that way. 90% of the time, those moments feel like seconds. I most of the time I walk away and I look at the clock and I'm like, oh crap, I'm late to something. I'm behind on some, you know what I mean? Because it goes so fast.
Yeah.
But it is a lot. It's a lot for our family. And I don't want, again, like, it's not a burden, but it is a lot to process. So when I come on and I do these videos with you guys and I share with you guys, this is just one phase, one scope that you're seeing. There's things happening behind the scene that we wanted to come on here and kind of give you guys a little bit of insight on it, so you can kind of comprehend and really get a bigger scope on what's happening. God has stopped me more than once to help someone. Oof. On my way to get my son from school in a hurry. It's a heavy burden to carry. It can be. It truly is. And I think, Melissa, too, it's the flesh part of it, you know. Spiritually, like I said, it's easy. It's not hard to do it, but it's a lot to have to process. Thank you, and God bless you too, babe. And Alana had to go, but she said, God bless your soul, sis, and continue to listen to God and doing as he says. He uses us all the time. We just have to listen and do as he says. Have to run, take care. We just love you guys too, and like, it really, like I said, it's encouraging to have support, because Christ didn't do it by himself. He didn't. The disciples didn't do it by themselves. You know? Hey, Tiana. Hey, Marsha. Hey, guys. We had to go live on Instagram too, guys. I always come live on Facebook and I forget my Instagram family. I got TikTok and YouTube too, but I didn't have. That's too many things. I don't
even know where everybody is. So.
I gotta get a content creator. I really do, or somebody to do all of this for me. It's becoming too much. I spent like several hours trying to edit a video. I'm like, oh my god,
4 hours.
4 hours. There's just too many platforms, and there's not like I have the softwares and stuff, but it's just too much. I need to get a content creator.
For sure.
But yeah, we just wanted to get on here and bless you guys. Let you guys see a part of it that I've never shared. I haven't shared. There's more, but that's for another time. Yeah. He's done.
I'm done.
We're done.
I'm tired. I'm cooked.
He's honest. He's cooked. He's done, guys. God bless you guys. Thank you for listening, and I hope this blesses everything we said. Like I said in all my videos, to the glory of God, that somebody would come to Christ who's not known them, that has not known him, that if you are thinking about leaving God, that you would take a second take, you know, because religion is not God. Religion is a separate thing. Jesus came to break religion, to get it in our mind that religion is not what he was seeking. And if you've never experienced him, if you're thinking about leaving, never experience him, and if it's your first time, that you'll stay. I pray the Lord breaks off selfish habits. Patience is a struggle, but I've seen y'all be very disciplined in all areas of your life. Amen, Melissa. Absolutely. You've been there. We've known each other for a while, actually, like 10 years? No, more than that. 11 years?
Don't get me lying,
Jeez.
please. I don't know.
2013? Girl, it's been that long? Shoot, we getting old.
I told you,
but yeah, it's been a while, and we have been disciplined in other areas. Longer? Oh gosh.
See, that's what I'm saying. Don't get me lying. I'm getting old.
Girl, we aging, but God has been faithful to us in other areas and have made us grow in those areas. So I know that's why he's choosing to use us in this way. But I hope this video bless whoever it needs to bless. We just wanted to give you guys insight behind the scene of what's happening. So these videos that you guys get to enjoy on Facebook and social media is just like a minute scope of what's happening behind the scenes. And so we wanted to kind of give you insight on that. I wanted to really have you guys understand too the sacrifice my family's making in all of this, And if you guys see them, if you guys talk to them, if you hit them up on social media, support them, send them some love because they needed some encouragement. No,
I don't even check mine like that. So. and I'll say this, a famous person once said, "Those who have ears, let them hear." I'm just saying, it's you guys make the choice every day whether to do it or not to do it. And at the end of the day, we want to see all our family and friends come to Christ or
make it to heaven with us.
Yeah, for sure, because it's gonna be real up there. It's gonna be a party.
You know what the biggest part is here. We want all of our family and friends to experience life like we are experiencing it with the blessings. You guys know 90% of my Facebook people are my family from back home. And they know how I grew up. I was poor. You understand? We were poor. And I know what that feels like. I know what poverty feels like. I know what that is. And for me to be where we are now is only by the glory of God. And God is a God that provides. His disciples weren't poor. God is not a God of poverty. When he told them to go preach to the poor and bring them the good news, when you're poor, what good news do you think you want to hear? How to not be poor no more. So at the end of the day, I really want people to start living their life now in the flesh with God in it, with God working, with God doing the miracles he's doing for us, with God doing the healing he's doing for us, for other people, with you guys being able, imagine a world where every one of you and the people that's in your circle can be healed, can be taken out of poverty. Oh my gosh, what a blessing. It would be such a blessing if everybody I knew had the power of God working in their life, and everybody they knew had the power of God working in their life. Life would be so different. And I think a lot of times we wait to die to experience God. No, it's for now. The Bible was written for us now. It's for us here on earth. So
clarify, I'm not waiting to die.
No, I'm just saying.
I don't want to find out that, hey, Brandon, you made all them bad decisions. No, I'm good.
What I'm saying is, we hear about the streets of gold, silver, like, oh, we'll get rich when we get to heaven. We hear about store up your treasures in heaven. Oh, well, my treasures in heaven, I'll experience them there. No, even Jesus, when he was going to the cross, was like, hey, God, run me all my stuff because I'm going to need it. Give me everything that was ordained for me from the foundation of the earth. Give it to me now because I need it now. What good is $1 million in heaven? You won't need $1 million in heaven. I need that now. What good is my car note being paid in heaven? It ain't gonna help me in heaven. I need that payment now. This lady that I prayed and healed over 2 days ago, what good is her healing in heaven? She needed it now. What good is her salvation in heaven when she needs it now? God is a God that's alive, who's here for you now. And so it would be amazing. I think that's why I share these testimonies and these messages, is for you guys to get to a point where you truly know that and believe that, so that you can bless those in your life and yourself to elevate where God wants you to be. But my husband's getting antsy.
So, yeah, I'm tired.
He's tired. He's had a long day. He pulled 12 hours today. He's exhausted. And I am so thankful. He came on here with me tonight to share. And he's such a good sport.
Off screen, I'm being held against my will.
Oh, really? That's you see my backhand here? It's because I'm holding him here. He ain't got a choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, taser.
This big old man, nobody gonna believe that.
I appreciate y'all, for the ones who showed up and listened, and I hope it didn't fall on deaf ears, but know that if you're obedient, God will use you. If you're scared what people think, you believing in God, you need to get over that, because at the end of the day, we're not living for now, we're living for eternity. And I was always that person who just cared what everybody thought about me and how they viewed me in their eyes, and somebody gonna laugh at me for praising God, and how silly that is, because now that I read the book, it simply says, those who simply don't acknowledge me, you're nobody, essentially, right? So I don't want to be I don't want to be the one where I got to be judged and have to go somewhere that I'm not with my family. My goal is to be with the ones that I love, in heaven, right? Regardless if we're.
He says it all the time. He says, I don't care if I'm a janitor in heaven.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm just scrubbing the tiles with a toothbrush. I don't care if I'm clipping the grass with the scissors. As long as I make it in, that's all I care about.
All I know is it won't be hot.
And that's the two perspective. He wants to go in just clipping the grass. Nah, I want to show up. I want somebody to show up with my robe. Like, you did good. Like, girl, let me show you a mansion. You know what I mean?
I think everybody wants to hear that, well done, my good and faithful servant. I think
Yes.
I would be just okay if I was, to cover God's feet because He's cold.
Amen.
And that's just being honest with you, because at the end of the day, God knows why He put me here. He knows my purpose. He understands what I need to be used for. And I think that the more you're obedient, the more you'll get the understanding of, okay, this is what I should be doing. This is kind of the whole thing. We waste so much time.
Melissa.
We waste so much time. What we're trying to, obtain here. God will bless you, and things will come a little effort. As far as you're doing all this extra work. I know that because I've followed God, things are laid out for me. I'm not saying I'm not doing the work. It's just the opportunities are open, the doors are open. Things present themselves that otherwise, if I was living the life I used to live, would not be. Excuse my children. They don't have no sense. But the way I was living my life, these opportunities would never been presented to me, and I couldn't be able to bless my family, and in turn have the opportunity to work from home so I can study the Bible, so I can have that true understanding. Because the more you understand, the more you know, the more you can kind of help guide your life and others around you to where they're supposed to be.
Amen.
So, again, I thank everybody for being on and listening and encouraging. But yeah, Brandon's done.
Brandon's out. I think we're going to have to do another video too.
Mm-hmm.
I know he says no, but there's two different dynamics here. And I love that there's two different dynamics, because he has this real side of him where he's like I said, he wants to lay at God's feet. And I'm like, I know my God, and I know I'm a daughter of God. And I know, like the lost son that came back, the life that I'm in deserving of because I am a child of God. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind washing God's feet. I would humbly surrender to that. But I still want my castle in heaven. You know what I mean?
She said the brain ain't braining no more. Amen.
Ooh.
It so ain't. Listen, I work 12 hours a day behind a computer, and it is not braining anymore.
It's not. But I would love his spin on things, because he brings you this real side of it too. Because he is still tied to the material world in some ways.
For sure.
And so he did have a lot of struggles. He read a lot of different books. Brandon used to love the Egyptian history. So he knows all about those different gods and all these different things that he explored. There was a time in his life where
I didn't serve none of them.
No, he didn't.
Oh.
But there was a time in his life
Clarity.
where he was like, I don't know who is the real God, and I want to really sort it out.
Yeah, there's just so much information, and God doesn't bring confusion. But the moment you realize God doesn't bring confusion, you know who the one and true God is, and
Right.
it's that simple, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's a nice perspective to understand how he got where he is. I share all the time. He's behind the scene helping me and working with me and guiding me too, and giving me counsel and giving the kids counsel. So like I said, tonight was really to give you guys an insight behind the scene. Thank you guys for watching.
For sure.
Thank you for doing it with me, baby.
Yeah, you're welcome.
God bless you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you for blessing us women with a man's perspective on self-reflection, Brandon.
Listen, I wouldn't take that to the bank if I was you. I do the best that I can with the information that I got, and it's my perspective only. Other people think other ways. Man, I'm just trying to make it to the end,
Hey, Uncle Hubert, God bless you too. Melissa, I love how humble he stays and how and that's where I've learned it from, where I don't have to coax or enforce my belief on somebody else. I share, and what you do with it is on you. And I love that, and I learned that from him. He taught me how to do that. because he has this grace about the way he introduces his side of things, and how he gives you the grace and the space to really be where you are, and this sense of acceptance. Like, it's okay to be where you are, but let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's get to this next level. So for sure. But you guys have a wonderful night. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for sitting with us tonight. God bless you guys, and bye. I don't know how to end the Instagram one.
I'm pretty sure you just